tearing out of here. Something got left behind. No, I'm not. You guys figure it out. Who's gonna do it? Go for it. After you then. Nah, I was eating food now. Huh? Oh. Take the date. Stephen was just. Who are you? You're always on Facebook.
Miguel, will you do the roll call?
One more hand.
Call the meeting to order. Tonight is the meeting of the City of Roswell's Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Story,
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel,
Present.
Commissioner Aguilar,
Here.
Commissioner Lassard,
Here.
Commissioner McCornack,
Here.
Commissioner Henderson,
Here.
Commissioner Lopez?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, if we could have a swearing in by Commissioner Henderson, please.
Raise your right hand. You have the right to remain silent. Anything used against you can be used in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer. Oops, that's the wrong one. It's supposed to be a joke. Now we're for sure. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under penalty or perjury?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we have the approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. If I could have a motion, please.
I'd like to motion to approve the agenda of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for August 25th, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion by Jana and a second by Steve to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, next up, we have the approval of the July 28th, 2020 P and Z regular meeting minutes. If anybody has any questions before we make a motion, or any comments, now would be the time to bring them up. There being none, I would accept a motion, please.
I move, Mr. Chairman, that the minutes for the July 28th, 2020 P and Z regular minutes be approved as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and a second by Jana to approve the minutes from the July 28th, 2020 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. It brings us to our public hearing items. Case number 20-014. It's a request for a variance to increase the size of an existing balcony that is attached to an existing second-story addition that has a non-conforming side yard setback. Could have a motion, please, to waive the reading of the findings of facts.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to waive the reading of the finding of facts with respect to case 20-014.
Second.
We have a motion by James and a second by Steve to waive reading the findings of facts with respect to case 2014. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Now we will move on to case number 20-014. We will be asking people to speak for and against it. And please, when you do come up, and in either case, please state your name and address for the record, please. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of case 20-014?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is James Avalos of 603 Redwood Street.
Good evening.
Okay. I am requesting a variance to the east side 5-foot yard setback on my property. In 2002, I built a second-story addition that was permitted and approved for the 5-foot setback, and we want to maintain that setback as we extend our balcony and roof structure. We have an existing balcony on our second story that faces the street. We want to enlarge the current balcony over the front part of the lower part of the house. And if I'm approved with this variance, I'm asking that The second-story addition is included in this variance. I own the property on the east side of my property at 601 Redwood, where my current balcony faces that side. It's also my property next door. I feel my balcony will not affect the quality of life in my neighborhood. Out of the 8 people on Redwood that this affects, that the letters were sent out to, I have approval from 7 out of the 8 who are in favor of this and have no problem with me extending my balcony. Of course, I can't make everyone happy. I do have one neighbor that we just haven't gotten along since the day I moved in, and it's to this day. Do you have any questions of me, commissioners?
You say that you did the addition, when?
2002.
So when you did the addition then, did you not plan on doing the balcony and having it approved at that time?
Well, I wasn't planning on extending it that large.
Okay,
Just over time, my wife, a honey-do list.
I understand, yeah.
Per se, and now that I have some free time and some money,
Mm-hmm.
I want to extend the balcony, and also in this permit is, I'm going to be extending my lower porch.
okay.
That's all. I just didn't seem like I needed one back then, but now, 20 years later, or excuse me, 18 years later, it's time to finish some things.
Question. Are you able to make all the structural needs in order to support that big of a patio or porch up there? Are you going to have to do quite a bit of work in order to make the structure secure?
Well, yes, there definitely will need to be the structure supported, some LVLs to beef up the support to hold the weight somewhat. It is a balcony. It's open. There's no walls surrounding it other than the required 36 or 40-inch, railing. But it's not going to be full wall, so it's going to lessen the weight of it. But we have looked at it, and of course, not till you open it up. I mean, it can be done. It's just, it might require more money or more LVLs, but it can safely be done and to support the weight. There is a supporting wall. That's why my original plan was to go only 12 feet. But after looking at it, there's a wall a little further that would help it to set the LVL support beams across to keep it from bowing in the lower structure.
Are you going to have to make some modifications to your roof?
Minor. Basically, if you branch out the balcony, I'm going to have to chop off 4 inches off the top of my roof on the lower half of the home, which we were going to have to do anyway when I extend the front porch. We were going to come up there and have to rework that anyway.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can we ask you, don't sit down yet, Mr. Bayless. Staff, with this, I don't see it anywhere, this would require a building permit? Has it already been,
Yes, Chair, that is correct. It would require a building permit, which she has submitted at this time, pending review for this variance.
okay, thank you. And I'm a little confused, so there's 2 decks you're gonna modify, is that correct? Or just
Yeah,
the one?
well, yes, one that requires a variance, which is the upstairs deck. The second is just a porch. I currently have a 2-foot porch in front of my front door, and I'm extending that 6 or 8 feet, which, whatever the requirement, there's a back set from the street to what's required. So I'm just extending it a total, I believe, of 8 feet on the lower end. that it's totally different than, the variance isn't for the lower end, that's not required. It's just the top end that's, the variance is required for.
So he doesn't, what he's wanting to do downstairs or on the lower doesn't require any action on our part if everything's okay?
Negative, Mr. Chairman. He's doing a double variance here, even though he's not admitting to it. But there are 25-foot setback on the front, and he's reducing it down to 20, so from my opinion, he's trying to double variance.
Excuse me, Chair Story. We do allow for there's an exception to the front yard setback to allow a porch to extend 5 feet into the front yard setback.
So it doesn't really need a variance? If they're allowed to do that, or they do that, it would be part of the variance?
That would not require a variance because it's an exception in the code in Article 52.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant? Anybody? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question to the applicant.
Okay.
How has he analyzed that he won't have to modify the roof and take out members of the roof to support the balcony that's going to come in? Because the balcony still has a load that it has to maintain under the building permits. So when you say minor roofing, and I think along the same question as Commissioner Henderson, how did you figure out that you didn't have to do much to support your balcony?
I just had friends of mine that are in the construction business and do this for a living come over and go in the attic and look at what's in there and everything, the supporting walls and so forth. And I'm not familiar, I'm not a contractor, so I can't quote the computations and so forth. But I've had different people look at it, including contractors, when I was getting quotes in the beginning before I decided to get my own permit. It said that it can be done. I mean, you don't know exactly till you open it up and get in there. It's just, you know, it might require an extra LVL header across there, would it just be more money, but it can be done. It can be supported. And obviously, if it can't, then, I mean, the building inspector will be checking everything to make sure everything's up to code.
Well, how could they look at it if they haven't, nobody's looked in the attic?
No, they'll look at it when.
So they haven't looked in the attic to look at it?
No, of course
And-
not, no.
I would make the assumption that he's trying to get this variance done and then pull the proper permits and have it looked at.
Yeah, because
correct?
your building load, your dead loads, and your loads on your roof are way lighter than the ones that were required for a balcony.
Yeah.
A roof could be 10, 15 pounds per square foot. A balcony could be 30 to 40 pounds per square foot. So your loading requirements are way higher. But I'll continue on my comments when it's due.
But we're here to vote on just the variance, right? Not on if the wall can hold the load.
Correct.
Okay.
Do our building inspectors have enough knowledge to whatever to be able to look at those kind of things, or does he need to bring on a structural engineer as part of the building permit?
They're fully certified with the state of New Mexico and have lots of experience. In this particular case, they've already met with, the applicant's already met with the building inspectors to go over the specifics of what's going to have to be up there. For me, it's just a matter of let the building inspectors do their job on this one.
Okay, thank you. Louis, got anything else at this point?
Not at this point.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, commissioners.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak in favor of case 20-014? Being none, is there anyone wishing to speak against case 20-014? Meredith, do we have anybody online?
Mr. Chair, for the record, we have the neighbor at 605 Redwood. Maggie Rodriguez wrote a letter in protest for this case.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a copy of that. And then we also have one in favor, correct?
That is correct.
Actually, that's two of them, isn't it? Is that the back of them?
There are 2 in favor, and then there was a second letter submitted in protest from the same property owner at 605 Redwood.
Okay. Duly noted.
Excuse me, Chair, there's actually 4 not opposed. So 2 in your packet and 2 additional. They're front and back.
Okay. Last chance. Anyone wishing to speak against case 20-014? Being none, do you have any staff comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I reviewed this case with Mr. Aviles. As he stated, he did have a building permit back in 2002. It was done around planning and zoning. The second story was built 5 feet encroaching in the side yard setback. A second story requires a 10-foot setback. The idea here is to make that second story legal non-conforming, as well as taking an approach to this extension of the balcony as well. The balcony he's requesting was a 16 by 24. It will be facing towards the street, and as discussed, we did meet with the building inspector, briefly discussed what was going to be required. He is aware that he will have to do some extensive work on the roof to meet the requirements for the balcony being presented, and staff was in support of this.
Mr. Morris, got any comments to add?
Mr. Chair, planning zoning members, this is a case where the system didn't quite work like it should have. The variance should have happened a long time ago, the time that the building was constructed. There is no variance on this. It was permitted, and that was at a time when the building department and the planning departments were basically separated. Didn't talk very much. And so this is one of those cases just to clear it all up, make everything legal, so there's no future problems, and let the family go ahead and construct their thing with an approval from you guys and the building department, and proceed onwards.
Thank you. Lewis?
From an engineering perspective, I disagree with this application. I understand that it was done at a time when there wasn't quite enforcement, but just looking at it, not only from the safety point of view, now you're adding more second story within the 5 feet, but there's other alternatives to adding on to this second story that could go on the west side of the building and add on to it. As you look at it, the reason we have some of the zoning and ordinances is to keep the people, depending on your structure height, 10 foot, to also for the privacy and the, I don't know, the aesthetic is the right word for that, but you want the second story houses more into the center of the lot and not as close to the lot. I understand what he's trying to do from a common sense point of view and what he's trying to do, and it's easier that way, but I think there's other alternatives to adding to the house by going to the west. Again, the structure and the porch in the front could be allowed under our structure, but again, in essence, you are defeating the setbacks. I just think there's other alternatives, and I'm glad that if you do pass this, that there'll be structural review by the building permit, but engineering department does not agree with this request.
Thank you, Lewis.
Mr. Chair, I'm
Yes.
sorry, one more thing I wanted to add. We did take a look at the setback there for the second story and the house from 601 Redwood. There, we did measure, I didn't see it put here in the packet, but we did measure approximately 20 feet, 20-foot separation between the two residences, just for clarification.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners to any of the applicants or the staff?
I have just a quick question, and just to clarify, we're only looking for that 5-foot setback for the porch.
for that second balcony, is that the only thing we're voting on?
Yes.
5-foot setback? On the side, yes.
Yeah, you're voting on maintaining that 5-foot setback. A second story would usually have a 10-foot setback. Again, from the point of view that if there's a fire, 5 foot falling from that distance could fall into the neighbor's yard. Also gives you more privacy, more room for the fire department to work with it. So that's why typically on a 2-story structure, you would have 10 foot.
Meredith?
Commissioner, Chair Story, this will require a roll call vote.
Okay, will do. Pete, did you have a question?
I guess, Miguel, tell me once again about the setback. You say there's only 1 foot. Did I misunderstand you? But once the balcony is built, there'll be only 1 foot from the property line?
That is incorrect, sir. There will be a 5-foot setback.
There'll be 5 foot.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Daniel, you okay down there? Everybody else okay? No other comments? I would accept a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we waive the reading and finding of facts with respect of 20-014 and move to approve the variance.
I second the approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Jesse to approve case number 20-014, along with the land use and zoning considerations, finding of fact, staff recommendations, and testimony we have received tonight. And we will ask for a roll call vote, please. So a yes vote would be in favor of the variance, and a no vote would be against it.
Commissioner Lassard?
I would vote to approve.
Commissioner Henderson?
No.
Commissioner McCornack?
Yes.
Commissioner Story?
Yes.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Aguilar?
Yes?
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you, Miguel. Any other questions or comments on this case? Sir, you've been approved, your variance has been approved. We appreciate if you'd work with the building department and planning and zoning to make sure everything is safe. Do we have any? Which one of these you want me to follow? They don't follow the same thing here. We got non-action items, or do we have other business?
Just the reports and announcements, Chair Story.
Well, we've got, okay, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay. Non-action items, I guess being none, is there any other business to come before commission? Nope. Reports and announcements. Meredith?
Chair Story, Commissioners. In front of you, you have a new binder with the revised zoning ordinance, with the revised text amendments, the updated text amendments that City Council approved earlier this month. Also, there's the subdivision regulations. There's the first chapter of the comprehensive land use plan. And in the front folder, you have a sheet with other online resources such as the comprehensive plan, There's an upcoming conference, a joint conference with the American Planning Association, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, I believe Arkansas. Anyway, there's an upcoming conference. It's $100, and it's going to be online. So if you want to go and look at that information online, the information's there in front of you. I will also email it to you, so you have the links.
Thank you, Meredith. I'm not sure if everybody else's book is like mine, but I don't know if the city can't like afford some tabs besides some sticky notes. If not, we'll take one of those $100 entry fees and get us some tabs here. Thanks, Meredith. Anything else, commissioners?
No.
If not, it is 6:25 and we are adjourned.
Gavel.
Oh, there we go.
There you go, now we can leave.
Now we're adjourned, yeah, yeah. That was Ralph's favorite.